So I'm just, that's all I have to say about it. I'll have other comments later. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. On to, oh, wait, let's call for a motion to adopt, to approve.
I move to approve the draft minutes of the regular board meeting of June 8th, 2021, and the bills paid numbers 5484 to 5558.
Second.
I second.
Tiff.
Board President Shea,
Aye.
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Kilkenny,
Aye.
Director Oysterman,
Aye.
and Director Ruggieri.
Aye.
Thanks.
Okay, on to public comment, open time for items not on the agenda.
1 second, Bill.
Hello.
Steven.
Okay. As was mentioned before, our esteemed president passed several milestones this year, and we all really need to congratulate him. He's made a bit, impressive number and looks great, and he's had success in his personal life, and his kids are on their way. And this is an important moment, and I do think it's just something to congratulate him for. As we're all heading down the path of becoming, older and wiser, and we all have a legacy that we bring forward. And unfortunately, due to the infirmaries of age, we're all going to find ourselves in a situation where mobility is a little bit more challenging. The activities that we once enjoyed are not going to be there anymore. We're going to be slowing down. And this is a great opportunity. I would love to see, I've asked for this before, and it doesn't seem to ever get on the agenda, but think of ways that we can improve the accessibility of Marinwood Park and make our programs more friendly to the senior population. Easy things. I'll talk. I was camping in this last month and up on the coast, and I was walking on accessible trail. And there are actually some standards that are used on accessible trails. It's very easy for us to make Marinwood Park completely accessible, and I think that would be an important goal. Also, to provide more seating for seniors and accessible bathrooms, which are much needed, not only by, well, they're needed by everybody for the amount that we use the park. We need more stalls available, and we can put in a prefab unit next to the tennis courts at a pretty low price. The last I checked, it was about $50,000 for a prefab unit that gets dropped in off a trailer, and it's the same kind of thing that's used in the county park system. So congratulations, Bill. Congratulations, everybody else. Let's make this a great night and think about ways that we can improve as a community.
Thank you, Stephen. Anybody else, Eric?
No.
Okay, on to district matters. The district manager report.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm not used to being at this part so quickly here. Yeah, a few items of note. I have an update about the park maintenance facility that I went in there. We're still kind of awaiting final review on our permit application. I've been talking to people within the CDA about what some of the holdups are. So hopefully we can get that clarified and issued quickly. And again, just a note of gratitude and for the patience and understanding of both our contractor, Murray Building, as well as our architect, Hansel Design. If you have been up or down Idleberry or looked around in the open space behind Idleberry and now moving towards Queenstone Road, you've noticed that we do have goats grazing out in our open space areas right now. They are slowly moving down. I know they just put some of the fencing around over by Queenstone, and eventually those will work their way to Peachstone. The goat company is also, we've asked them to take a further assessment of accessibility and feasibility to bring the goats over to Grasshopper Hill, which is kind of the northeastern corner of Marinwood. That's definitely was part of the area we intended to do. And when myself and Kate Anderson, a vegetation specialist with Santa Fe, went and looked at it, we had a little bit of concern about how feasible it really was going to be to bring goats out there when we looked at it further. So we've asked them to take a look at it, and that I believe is supposed to happen tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have some updates on that. And then just a couple housekeeping notes that are in here. We have made a banking change for our local banking and payroll. We've opened our account at Bank of Marin. That is functioning properly. We've already made some of our needed EFT transactions that, pay CalPERS for things like health and pension. Our first payroll will actually run through there on this Friday. So I'm not thinking anything should be wrong, but everything until everything goes through once, so it'd be nice. But that account was opened. Wells Fargo, our savings account was closed, and all of those were moved to a separate savings account at Bank of Marin, and all of the funds in the checking account were drained, with the exception to account for outstanding checks. All of these are payroll. Many are very old. We've notified all of our active employees not to sit on any paychecks they may have. And by the end of the first quarter in September, we'll be closing that account and transferring those remaining funds over as well. And then just some updates on some of our capital improvement efforts that I've listed in here. One was already touched on really quickly. Probably saw it in the claims. I believe it was this month. We've got all the fixtures in the community center bathrooms have been updated to be touchless fixtures. The new phone system has been installed in the community center and the fire station. That was actually carried over into the current year fiscal budget, but we were able to get it done prior to the end of the fiscal year. Our phones really started to go, for a lack of a technical term, pretty wonky on us. So that kind of forced our hand into, we need to get it done quickly. So we were able to get that done. They're working great. They sound and perform much better. We have ordered a new upgraded backup generator for the fire station. We had one on back order for months and months and months through one of our primary vendors. We finally started just looking at other vendors, found one at a same cost, wound up canceling the other order, purchasing that. So that should show up. And as soon as we get that in, we'll be able to bring our electric vendor back out because we want to increase the capacity of our backup operations there so that it can actually operate the bay doors. It'll be able to put a little bit of power into the kitchen to keep things like the fridge and a couple outlets working, especially important during these, longer and durated PSPS events that PG&E comes through. And then also wanted to really kind of give a very solid acknowledgement to a lot of the firefighters over there, especially Jeff Smith, and I know Engineer Caesar Correa and Fire Captain Ryan Brackett were very helpful as this went going. But we've ordered and are working on putting in the new turnout lockers. We needed to do a little bit of work to that area. Jeff, with the background in construction, has led much of the prep work. This included removing a door, installing a wall to support the turnout lockers in their new location. They've installed a door to the communication center room, which does house the washer and dryer. And soon it will also be housing the turnout extractor, which we'll be getting shortly here as well. The fact that these guys willingly, they weren't asked, they just simply did it and just took on this work is certainly a cost savings to the district. And it was certainly appreciated by myself to have them come in and be able to do that. And it really looks incredibly good. It's very smooth. It's a very finished looking job that they have done. So again, especially to engineer Jeff Smith, but also a lot of other firefighters pitched in too. So a large thank you to them. Otherwise, yeah, this last month's been fairly busy, just trying to get a lot of these projects up and rolling. So that's an update on where we are. Questions?
Just have a couple of questions, I guess.
Okay.
One is, how far up the hill are the goats grazing from, I guess, the backyards?
No more than 100 feet. All of that is kind of within what is a CEQA standard. So
Okay.
they don't go, far up into the hillsides. That requires a lot more study. This is simply for a defensible space. It kind of, borders the residential properties as they go along. And it would be the same on Grasshopper Hill. It would mostly be just towards the bottom of the hill to kind of create that upper zone, so to speak. Chief White might be able to speak to it better than I can, and he's certainly welcome to. But that is, it's all within a 100-foot zone.
Okay, yeah, because I know right around Queenstone, there's not a lot of, would I say, dried grasses before you hit trees.
Right. Well, and they do actually certainly enjoy eating on some of the lower limbs on the trees and clearing out some of those leaves and things too. So they're kind of building the canopy. They obviously can't climb up very tall. But you're right. And the herders who go around and install the fences, they take all of that into account. And they're actually really, it's pretty amazing. I mean, they're like billy goats themselves, the way they can get up there on the hills and get that fence and the pens and everything run in there. And just the efficiency by which they do it is impressive.
And then we're still waiting for the permit. There's still not.
Yes, it's been sitting in a review process with one final department. All of the plans have been third-party checked and approved. Planning has already approved it. Nothing has changed. I've reached out to folks within the department there to just say, we need to push this along. This has got to get going. I don't understand the delay. Help me understand the delay. So I'm expecting this to move very quickly at this point now, hopefully, relatively.
Thank you.
You got it.
Anybody else? I guess it would be public comment.
Yeah, 1 second, please.
Yes,
Steven.
yes, thank you. So, yeah, I was surprised that we didn't have full approval. I thought that's what we had prior to contracting with our contractor. I assume that we've already contracted for money. We've also we're in it, but we're not starting it, and this must be costing us money. And I'm a little concerned about change orders already, and we haven't even started the process. Can you provide any more information other than it's being delayed? Is there a problem with, say, setbacks or drainage or other issues that may require the revisit of the plan?
No, there's no issues, and we've not been told of any issues. Setbacks are fine. The project has been approved as a whole. This is just the building and construction permit set, which has already gone through a third party. I wish I could give you more information on why it's taking the county longer. We haven't had to issue any change orders. The contractor's been very understanding and patient with us.
Okay, so the other, okay, so I know, because I walk that area daily, there's a lot of concern about that area being so massive. I know it's just during the construction phase, but also there's impact to the horseshoe pit. I know from comments that a lot of people make, they don't like walking past that area, especially on a Friday night when everyone's drinking heavily and, you know, horseshoes are flying. I hope we can work a better solution where we can actually gain access to that space. I'm asking you just to basically take a look at that. I appreciate the fact that larger signs have gone up as far as people walking their bikes. It really hasn't been an issue as far as I could tell, but anyhow, I'm looking forward to getting this construction moving along, and you know, hopefully at the end of this, we're going to have a good project and that we can all at least feel some good about. Feel good about. So, thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, on to, oh, sorry. Is there anybody else there?
Nope, that's it.
Okie dokie. Fire department chief, chief, your report, it's not even 8.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be with you again this evening. And I'll start out with the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority. And really, this one's going to center and focus primarily on Zone Haven, the evacuation platform that's been at work for the last 3 or 4 months. Effective June 28th, Zone Haven has placed their zones into the evacuation management platform, and they're now available to the public. So with that, everyone in the community is encouraged to actually sign up and go to www.community.zonehaven.com for the community application access / use of this new application. The zones are set up across the entire county, and in some cases, they're actually using some of the previous names of zones that were known to individuals, and they've been subdivided in other cases. There are also useful links as you get into those zones. If you click on those links found within the zones, there's useful information in there. Just a little bit about Zone Haven. It's actually designed to reduce the reflex time for first responders to decide that an evacuation is necessary. Very flexible tool in that it allows the sharing of information with social media and or news media sources, so that if we need to broadcast information right away among different platforms, it can be done very quickly and very comprehensively. They said that now that there's an additional feature that allows residents who've been evacuated from their homes to actually access the platform to know when evacuated personnel are allowed back into their neighborhoods. And so that's a new tool. I think that's probably something they developed after seeing the evacuation of multiple areas, perhaps down in Santa Cruz area or some in the North Sonoma County areas from last year's fires. Fire Safe Marin is developing a video that's going to contain some additional useful information. So periodically go to firesafemarin.org and check for that video. I think it's going to be coming out pretty quickly here within the next few weeks. And it could actually already be out. I haven't looked on the website in a little while myself, but there's a official launch of the application that's really going to be slated to take place next spring. But there's going to be a host of just substantial campaigning to encourage everybody during the fall and early spring, or excuse me, fall, winter, and early spring months to sign up and use this tool that is going to be a game changer for everyone when it comes to understanding and having situational awareness and understanding what zones are being evacuated and when. So please take the time to go ahead and, as members of the public, take a look and see what's there already at this point. We'll move on to vegetation management. This year we have 12 defensible space inspectors. I hate to say it, but we're losing one of our vegetation management specialists who just turned in his notice to leave. He's going to move on to the county to take on an opportunity that's going to allow him to work in the vast open spaces that the county has that we don't currently have in San Rafael or Marinwood. But it's a huge opportunity for him, and we really had the pleasure of working with him for the last several months as he's taking on some pretty tough challenges. His name is Gavin Albertoli. And I told Gavin, if you ever need to return and we've got a vacancy, I'd hire you on the spot. But I understand that this is an opportunity for professional growth, but it's also an increased compensation. So as we do an exit interview, I want to learn as much as I can about what attracted Gavin to that opportunity and find out whether or not there's some opportunities for us to secure individuals with his background, experience, and talent so that we don't lose or see an exodus of other employees who might be leaving for other opportunities that exist here within the county or elsewhere. Last year we had several defensible space inspectors, and we were down literally to about 3. There was some attrition for a variety of reasons. This year we're up to 12, and it's really a group of motivated and organized and well-orchestrated folks that are getting out and really getting some headway on a lot of inspections. And so as of July 6th, 2 inspectors in particular, along with the vegetation management specialists, are assigned to work specifically in Marinwood. It's my understanding that they started on Idleberry Road. And as of next month's report, I'll have updated numbers for you about the total number of inspections and compliance rates that they've determined for the inspections completed in Marinwood. PG&E, not a whole lot to report from PG&E, except they have an enhanced vegetation management work planned as of last week. And they said the Las Gallinas line would be the only enhanced vegetation management work that it was going to be completing in Marin in 2021 to date. And that's along the, I don't know if you can quite tell, but it's a stretch of line that's highlighted. Not sure, well, thankful, first of all, that they actually have decided to work on that area, because as you know, there's a lot of vegetation there, but I'm not sure why it's the only to date. I'm assuming it's maybe one of their higher priority areas, but they also wanted to remind personnel that rotating power outages such as the flex alerts that are being announced are not really considered public safety power shutdowns. In these cases, the outages will be communicated a couple hours in advance. Try to do what they can to provide notice via social media, via the internet and other social networks, including the news if possible. But I know that there's been some notifications and alerts by cell phone as an example. So in most cases, it said that they may be shutting down. They haven't actually shut down to my knowledge, but as we continue to face heavy power consumption during the high heat days, the likelihood that this is going to occur sometime later this month or into August and September, I think it begins to increase. So just wanted to remind everybody that these are rotating power outages. They usually last upwards of a couple hours at the most, and they're designed to basically balance their power availability without doing a complete shutdown so that they can maintain the ability to deliver service throughout the entire grid. The new AmeriCorps team arrived from St. Louis, and they're working in city open space, and they're assisting homeowners with creating defensible space. And so we had some housing challenges initially with them, so they spent their first few weeks at the Extended Stay America in San Rafael, which is not normally what we've done to accommodate them. We normally would look at some facilities that are not quite as costly. However, this was necessary based on our not being able to place them in one of the temporary structures that we had hoped to be able to stage them over near Station 55 on Point San Pedro Road. But with that, they are doing excellent work, and they're preparing some of the areas that they're working on for the goat herd, the herds of goats that we talked about earlier. And they'll be doing some things like limbing up trees and continue to do a lot of weeding and removing and piling fuels while they're doing their absolute best to avoid being affected by poison oak. So their efforts continue. We're really appreciative of their work. They do a phenomenal job. I know you've seen before and after photos in the past of some of the work that they've done. I'm hoping to have some photos of one of the properties we discussed. I believe it was the month before last on Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Elvia Court, 206 Elvia Court? Somewhere in that vicinity. And so I'm hoping that we'll have some progress there so that we can certainly provide the assistance to those in need, but also those who have been a challenge for the neighborhoods at times for different reasons. And so these crews come in and do a phenomenal job. There are other things there that our staff engaged the homeowner on for improvement, and we'll be doing periodic follow-up to inspect what we expect as we normally do.
Chief, can I interlude for just one second?
Absolutely.
Because you lead to a good segue. One of the things that the chief and I and his team primarily have been talking about that a lot of other agencies have been doing with the MWPA funds in terms of defensible space is kind of creating, for lack of a better term, a grant program that's available to local homeowners to help them in need of assistance in clearing out some of this space. So one of the things I've talked to the chief staff about is, really now that we're in a full year, trying to wrap our head around what our costs are going to be in terms of a lot of these inspections and our other defensible space plans, which are fairly aggressive, and then trying to ballpark and estimate those out so we can ascertain if we'll have additional annual funds available, and then we would come back with some level of a grant program, with the cap dollar amount, something, might be a matching. A lot of other agencies already have this in place, so it'd be easy to put it in, and, it's kind of intended for lower income or senior or people who just simply aren't capable of doing the work themselves, especially the address that Chief mentioned was one that hit our radar as, they can really kind of use some assistance getting their property cleaned up. They back right up to open space, things along those lines. So that's something that's also in the works. We're just trying to get an accurate gauge on what type of funding dedicated from the MWPA source for this we might have remaining on an annual basis.
Thank you very much for that supplemental comments. That's helpful to provide some additional information that I did not include. And so to Eric's point, we are exploring how can we effectively reach more individuals throughout Marinwood and San Rafael with some grant funding, either driven by the administration from MWPA or specifically from the administration of our own agencies. And so we're working on that moving forward. And I think there'll be some resolve on that probably here pretty soon, because those questions are surfacing from other agencies as well who've established their own programs, but may actually be looking to have a centralized program that operates consistently countywide, but we'll see how that works out. COVID-19, on June 15th, Governor Newsom actually reopened the state, and then what that means in essence is those persons who are vaccinated are still required to wear masks. However, now you can probably see through any number of different venues, people not wearing masks in the wide open air, and it feels like a return to pre-pandemic conditions. They're encouraged, though, if you're going to be in large crowds or in a group of people, and I don't know what the minimum number is. It could be somewhere between 12 and 20, but if you get into a point where you're in a larger crowd, they're encouraging mask use. And part of that is because you don't know who is and who is not vaccinated. And part of that also, I think, stems from the fact that you've got two new variants that have surfaced, the Delta variant of COVID and the Delta Plus variant of COVID, which, from what I understand, are far more contagious and maybe even more aggressive than the previous COVID iteration that's first surfaced. And so the maker of Pfizer applied for emergency use for children ages 5 to 11. And the understanding is the vaccine so far seems to be 100% effective in children in that age range. And they're hoping to have the emergency approval sometime in October or early November. And I think it could very well be that they try to remove the emergency approval to just make it an approval to use without the emergency title behind it. And then lastly, there's an eviction moratorium that was extended until September 30th, and billions of dollars are being allocated for those individuals who've been unable to pay their rent since the onset of the pandemic. And so this is going to be helpful to both the tenants and the the landlords for those individuals who have been unable to pay. As you know, that puts a strain on not just those who are concerned about facing eviction, but it also puts a strain on those who have to pay the mortgages for, and the taxes, insurance, et cetera, for those properties. And so it's really encouraging news that there's additional resources that are going to be allocated to continue to provide much needed assistance. Marinwood stats for the month of June, we had 126 emergency calls. 60% of those happened to be EMS related calls. We had 12 calls which were canceled en route. And then we had 2 building fires, 1 cooking fire, 1 passenger vehicle fire, and 2 wildland or 2 vegetation fires in Nevada that we responded to as well. So it's been a pretty busy month for 58. And their time is 5 minutes, 45 seconds. So they're doing still an excellent job of getting out the door and getting on scene quickly as always. It's very encouraging. The crew also responded to assist with a community event on Sunday, June 6th, that was held at the Marinwood Park, where Carrie Groves, Emergency Medical Services Agency, Trauma, STEMI, Stroke, Policy and Procedures, and CQI Program Coordinator, and also Molly Wagner, a nurse from Marin Health, all assisted with organizing and putting on, I think, a pretty good community stop the bleed hands-only CPR session. There were actually 2 sessions that were held that morning. And there was a great turnout, and it was a beautiful morning. And so I think Director Kilkenny can speak to that, because she attended, as well as Rachel Kurtz, council member from San Rafael. And I think you saw a lot of folks learning some useful skills that day. And with that, that concludes my report. If there are any questions, I stand ready to answer.
Anything from the public?
Yep, 1 second, please. Stephen.
Yes, hi, Chief White. I mentioned I was camping up in the North Coast, and the California state parks were doing thinning like you're describing. They were using mechanized means to clear the undergrowth, and I'm just wondering if there are any areas, either in San Rafael, anywhere, actually in our neighborhood, where where you've completed this undergrowth work. I think it would certainly put my mind at ease. I do support the project, but I just want to make sure that it's being done in a environmentally responsible manner. I know it's going to have impact, but do you know of any area right now that you could point to or say, hey, they did it right here, and this is what we're going to do?
You know, we had the individual from Marin County, I can't remember his name for the life of me right now, who actually went out with our staff, Kate Anderson and one other individual, to kind of get a sense of where are the environmentally sensitive areas, where are the species that we need to be mindful of as we go about removing vegetation responsibly. And as far as I know, we haven't tackled any of those areas that we know have a real reason to pause or hold off on until we can find a appropriate means of addressing a sensitive area or an ecologically sensitive area. But what we have done is we've utilized the AmeriCorps crews, for example, to go in and clear out accumulations and piles of vegetation that clearly present a hazard.
Okay, so hopefully they're going to give me a little extra time there. I don't mean to speak over you, but I notice the clock is ticking here. I was just wondering if there's an area that you can say, hey, we did it right, and go look at that area.
I would need to confer with my staff just to make sure that I could provide you with the specific location, if there is one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing, and this is from news reports, there was a accident that happened on Lucas Valley Road. I think a 63-year-old person on a motorcycle was struck by a deer right near, well, just right up the road, right up near the county farm there. And I notice it's not in your report. Do you know anything about that?
Can you tell me what date that occurred?
This was a couple weeks ago. I read it in the patch as a kind of a news flash.
Okay.
It did say crews responded. It didn't say which agency. And obviously it was a terrible thing that happened. It sounded like there was a deer just ran out and just broadsided this guy on a motor scooter, probably traveling at 50 miles an hour. He had a heart attack and didn't make it to the hospital. But
Yeah, I have to tell you, I did not hear about that incident. That's very tragic, as you stated. But I can certainly follow up with staff to let me know if that occurred during the month of June or if it occurred during the month of July. If it occurred during the month of July, chances are the information has been forwarded to Chief Senate, who puts out the hotshot news. And from time to time, Chief Senate and I will share information, and I'll share some information in our monthly reports. And Chief Senate will use some variation of that same information in his hotshot release. But I've not been made aware of that specific incident.
okay, good. I look forward to seeing more good work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. I guess that's the conclusion. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You as well. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Okay, the date of the next fire commission meeting is August 3rd. On to Park and Recreation Maintenance Activity Report.
Thanks, Bill. Hello, everyone. So since we last met, the big news is that we are into our summer programming, and we just started our 5th week of summer camp, and which marks this is our 3rd 2-week session that we just started. And things are going extremely well. It's been great to be a lot closer back to a normal summer. We're about 60% of our normal attendance this year. And it feels like a very standard summer. Things are a little bit more mellow than an average summer, but it's going really well. And it's nice to see so many kids and staff and parents out enjoying the camp program. We still have a few restrictions in place due to COVID-19, but a lot fewer than last year. Our camp groups are staying separate. Everyone, staff and campers, are wearing masks anytime we're indoors. And we are limiting some of the activities and facilities. Only one camp group at a time are using certain things. But all in all, everyone's following the guidelines great, and things are going extremely well. Right now, we're serving around 350 kids each day. And we've got kids ages 3 years old to entering 7th grade. And we're running 14 different day camp groups and a handful of specialty camps going on throughout the weeks as well. So we're very pleased with how that's going. The staff have been great, and everyone seems to be having a great time. And as a personal note, this is my first summer having one of my kids in the summer camp program. And that's been really fun for me to kind of experience camp from a parent perspective, not just from the staff side. So I've been enjoying that as well. So in other news, we have a lot going on at the pool. We started out the year doing a lot of things by reservation only, and one group using the pool at a time per the current guidelines. But as of things have been less restricted and guidelines have been lifted, we have tried to pivot and open up the pool as much as possible to allow for more of our community to use the pool. And I'm really grateful to our staff who have worked really hard to create opportunities to change the schedule on a very short notice. And we've been able to add in a lot of hours during the week to accommodate recreation swim for people to come and drop in, which we did not originally have on the schedule. So we're now offering recreation swim for drop-in basis 7 days a week. And we've got the water slides going, and it's basically feels very much like a normal summer during the latter part of the day down at the pool. So that's been really nice. And we're going to continue to open things up a little bit more as we get into August. We did continue to honor all of our previously made reservations. So we've just been kind of trying to strategically fit the puzzle together to be able to offer all the programs. So right now we've got lap swim going on 7 days a week. We are doing, we're still doing some tot pool reservations, and then we have recreation swim 7 days a week, private and semi-private swim lessons going on 7 days a week. We're running our guards and training program on the weekdays, and I believe that's what we have going on for now. So the pool has been going great, and the weather's been helpful. So we're just really happy that we're kind of getting back to a more normal pool season. And our fall hours and schedule will be announced in the next week, and we'll have a pretty standard fall pool schedule moving into October. So we're excited about that, and I'm very grateful to John Paul, our new recreation supervisor, who's been handling the pool side of things very well and making everything happen. So that's been great. We are currently working on our fall schedule of classes, programs, and events, trying to figure out what all we can do and how to do it, and getting back in touch with our instructors. And so the staff's been hard at work putting together our schedule of all of that, and we'll have our fall winter issue of the Marinwood Review out. We're hoping by mid-August. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be making more announcements. I'll be making more announcements as we have more of that solidified, but we're hoping to get a good schedule of rec programs for adults and kids, and hopefully some special events coming up soon. So I'll let you know. On the parks maintenance side of things, one of the big projects we completed this last month was repairing the damage to the mini park. We were it took a long time for us to get the new platforms that we needed to order. There were 2 elevated platforms that had been damaged, and we did receive those in the week of June 28th, or on June 28th, 29th. Staff were able to put the 2 new platforms in. It was quite a process. We had to remove several components of the playground to be able to fit them in, and they were different. They make them differently now. They seem to be much more robust than the platforms that ended up getting broken. So we're hoping we won't have any future damage with these. They seem to be much better built. But staff were very good at figuring out how to get them in and get everything working. We did find a little bit more damage once we removed the old platforms, and so we've done a couple temporary fixes for a few supports, and we've got parts ordered that we'll be changing out once we get those in hand. But that all went very well, and the park is reopened, and we're happy about that. And then staff have been continuing to work on just trying to keep the grounds clean and keep the turf alive and keep everything looking good after the camps each day. We had a big irrigation leak that happened late last week that the staff were able to jump on right away and get fixed very quickly within a couple days. And we're dealing with 90, that was like the 90-degree heat days, and it was a bad time to be down with our irrigation. So I'm very happy that they were able to get that back up and running so quickly. And Marco even came in on the weekend to make sure that was all working okay. So our grass was getting watered this weekend. So I'm very grateful to them for working so hard on that and sweating all day Thursday and Friday to make that happen. And we continue to work on our landscaping project, the Fireman's Hill. It's slow going, but we're making slow progress, and hoping to have some new plantings in place within the next few weeks, and among other projects that we have going on. So that is basically what I wanted to touch on. Please let me know if you'd like me to elaborate, or if you have any questions about any of that.
I just wanted to clarify, Luke, and it's in your report, and maybe I just didn't hear when you were talking, but everything like lap swim, rec swim, everything like that, starting very soon is going to go to basically as it was in the past, drop in, as opposed to reservations.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I meant to mention that. That's correct. So historically, our lap swim hours would be, you either would have a membership for the season, or you could purchase a 5-swim punch card to be able to use the lap hour, or use the pool during the lap times. And then recreation swim has always been, you can have those options, or also drop in for the day. Being so late in the season and having so many things unknown, we have not done a membership option this year, but starting in August, all of our pool hours, whether it be lap swim, the top pool, or recreation swim, everything will be available on a drop-in basis. So anyone can just show up during those hours and pay at the front and utilize the pool. We also are offering a 5-swim punch card for any of those hours that is just committing to 5. You get a little bit of a discount, but we are not restricting any of the hours to one group or another. So finishing out the season with being able to drop in for everything, starting August 1st.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Anybody else? Comments from the public?
1 second. Stephen?
Yes, thanks, Luke. So I'll just start with pool. So you are going back to drop in for lap swimming, which is great. Very disappointed that you can't figure out something for membership. It doesn't seem terribly complicated to me. You just figure out what portion of the summer's left and prorate it. The punch pass system for a heavy pool user like I have been in the past is much, much more expensive. And I'm concerned that you're not looking at ways to normalize the pool program. Of course, we pay taxes for everyone's salaries and for that pool and everything else. And so we do expect that, we're not going to be charged retail rates necessarily to access what is basically our pool. So could the staff or I guess the board direct the staff to find some solution for a partial year membership? It's not complicated. We can probably do it in about 15 minutes. As far as the mini park goes, I sent a couple letters to Luke and Eric, and I did not receive a courtesy reply. I had concerns that the play structure was not open, and then next thing I know, it was open, which was great. I did look at the deck and I inspected underneath, and it does look very lightly built, and suggested that additional supports be placed under those plastic boards. I don't think it's robust enough for real heavy use, and it's going to break again. So mark my words, it's going to break again if you don't fix it. The good news is I think that both of our play structures look pretty good to me. We do need to make them accessible. We have an affirmative need to provide accessible swings. It's part of the law. We need to follow the law and provide accessible paths to make this available to mobility impaired children. So I would hope that would you would move that up in your priority list. Lastly, I'd like to say, this playground project, the more I think about it, the more I'm looking at what the options were, which was basically almost exact replacement of what we have there. It doesn't make sense to me to replace those units. What it does make sense to me is that we have additional recreational facilities. And I suggested that we convert the tot pool to a splash pad, which is very popular with kids, and will encourage more use of our pool area. We could probably do it for the same amount of money than, I'm guessing, a simple splash pad we probably could do for a couple $100,000, and it would there would be a net gain. And the other thing I was thinking is if we had a cool slide built in into the berms, and maybe some additional swings and climbing structures throughout the park. We can make the park nicer, so let's not waste our money and just, replacing something that really can be fixed and doesn't need fully to be replaced. So that, and, accessibility is so important. I do want to say that there was a small gathering of neighbors on the 4th of July. They wanted to get out. We were in the Fireman's Picnic area. And actually, I was out last Saturday and every picnic table was filled. People were making music. They were enjoying themselves. And, it's just a good reminder of how wonderful our park is, and how well used it is, and treasured by the community. So thank you very much. Let's maintain it well, and have something proud for future, that we can be proud of for future generations. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Is there anybody else, Eric?
No, sir.
That's it. Date of the next Park and Rec Commission meeting is July 27th. Board member items of interest, requests for future agenda items. Anybody? The public?
1 second. Stephen.
Yes. My themes, actually, what I've been talking about for a while is accessibility and legacy. I would really, really like you to consider how this park of ours can be made more beautiful, more accessible, more meaningful for our wider community. Our parks are not just about summer camps. They're not just about, having kids play soccer and some people play tennis and dog walkers. It's much more than that. This is a place of life. This is a place of community. This is a place of art. Hopefully it won't be a place of alcohol, but I ask that you consider in your next meeting about accessibility. And also I think the drinking in the park has actually kind of exceeded a reasonableness. And I also would ask that you look at policies you can do to reduce the alcohol abuse that occurs on a regular basis in our park.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, at this time, we request public comment on closed session items.
You don't have any,
Anything?
Bill. No,
Nothing?
sir. Oh, hold on.
Okay, it is.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on.
So sorry.
Stephen.
Yes, did you hear me?
Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me? Okay. So I do believe that the board may be abusing the closed session provisions. You do have to report out what actually you're doing. You can't just meet in closed session to keep your secrets hidden. The public has a right to know, and you have a responsibility to report the good and the bad that's happening within our district. Obviously, we didn't get information on the delays. prior to the board voting on a multi-million-dollar project. You know, what do we know? We don't know anything. We live in a democracy, and what that means is you have an affirmative responsibility to report out to the community and to communicate with the community and solicit their input as well. So, you know, I can't comment on what I don't know, and I guess maybe you like it that way, but that is completely wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess with that, we'll go into closed session at 8:29.
You got it. Hold on one second, just writing this out. Good, thank you guys. And then we will go ahead and go into closed session. Thank you very much.
Cool.